Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to talk about the Henry 4570 and mounting the XS sights and lever rail for the Henry 4570. So let's get into it real quick. Alright, so on XS's website, they have an excellent tutorial on how to put this together. So what this is not so much a tutorial on how you should do it. I would recommend going to the manufacturer and looking at their information because, again, they do an excellent job of covering all the bases. We're not going to get that in-depth and detailed about it. We're just going to do it after we've already watched that video. So we're just going to do it and kind of talk about it, some high points along the way, and get an overall look at the end and maybe see a couple of variations and stuff that you can do to it. So let's jump into it real quick. First, we remove the front sight, the OEM front sight, and then we loosen the rear sight. You got these little Allen screws. I kind of already pre-loosened them. And then mine was very loose, and basically I'm able just to push out my rear sight. Very lucky, sometimes you gotta pound stuff like this out. This guy just slipped right out. So we're gonna stick those OEM pieces to the side, because probably never use them again. And then I'm gonna bust out this front sight kit. We have the front sight itself. We have the other little piece. I don't know the nomenclature to this kind of stuff, so I apologize. Again, I'm not that kind of person where I know all the nomenclature to all the different pieces and parts and whatnot and stuff. So anyway, this is the front sight base. We'll call it the front sight base, and this is the front sight post, okay? So we're gonna mount our front sight base in here. Use a little bit of Loctite. I'm gonna use my Loctite. They send you some, which is very nice. I'm gonna use a little bit of mine because it's blue, and I take stuff off and do things all the time. This will probably end up getting Cerakoted later, so this is a semi-permanent and not quite permanent modification for me. All right. Set this guy in here and use our screw. Just gonna snug it down for now. Again, like I said, this will probably be all taken off before too long and Cerakoted. So we're just gonna set stuff in there basically, all right? All right, so one thing real quick, following the instructions from XS's website, again, I can't stress that enough, go watch that video if you're gonna install this thing. Take off little bits. This is hand fit kind of stuff, right? This is not all 100% plug and play, it's hand fit, which is good because that means you're gonna get the best fit possible because everything's a little bit different, manufacturer tolerances and all that kind of stuff, but taking off one pass or two passes at a time of your front sight to get it to fit into the block, seriously, one or two passes and then test. One or two passes and test until you finally are going to get it to where it's going to slide on. I can't remember exactly how they say, if it slides on halfway or however it goes. You get it to where it's going to start to slide on, and then you can tap it into place. You do not want this thing to just slide right on because there's no set screw or anything that holds it in. It's the friction, all right? So this guy's starting to go on. We're almost there. One or two more passes, and I'm gonna call it good. All right, so there you go. Front sight is on. Again, use some kind of a non-marring punch or whatever. I use brass because it's steel. Brass is softer than steel, so I like to use brass ones. And for me, on my personal stuff, I don't care if it leaves a little golden streak on it. It's not a big deal. But you can get away with using maybe some plastic punches and different things like that if you're really, really picky about keeping everything super pristine. I'm not. All right, so now let's take off these rear pieces. Test fit everything. You can go on here like that. All right. And this front guy is gonna need his little piece. He basically just slides right in there. No issues there. All right, so as we kind of mentioned before, this is not straight up a tutorial. Please don't watch this video thinking I'm telling you how to install this stuff right now. This is me right now, honestly, just kind of hand fitting everything on here and just kind of taking a little look at it because I know I'm gonna end up Cerakoting this at some point before I really use the gun, like heavily use the gun. But that's kind of what we're looking at right there. You know, you have your rail on top, that is basically bolted down to the barrel, and it's bolted across here on the receiver. So it's going to be very steady, right? And it's not just bolted into the barrel, but the dovetail. So it saves your dovetail. Sometimes you got to, for your rear sight, or what used to be your rear sight, it saves that from getting all damaged and messed up. And it utilizes it to secure this whole rail. So if you have a scope, but a scout scope, right? So a forward mounted scope, you could mount that up here. And you still have the utilization of your rear sights. Now, the rear sights, or the iron sights on these things, one question I have that I'm going to try to answer real quick for myself is there any co-witness? All right, that's one thing I wasn't able to really find much information on. We're going to find out real quick. All right, so kicks and giggles. I think it's going to be it's going to be a little bit too high. Just kicks and giggles looking at it. Yep, you don't quite get a co-witness. Not with a Holosun anyway, which is a real bummer because I really like my Holosuns. So that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. Now, let's try. I have one other optic that sits a little bit lower, and I think if any of them work, that guy will work. All right, so if we stick a Bushnell TRS-25, which not really a big fan of that, man, you just don't get a sight picture on that. I mean, you're close. You're very, very, very close. But no cigar. All right, so I'm going to have to look around and see if I can find a red dot. Like, that works as far as comfortability, but you don't get a true, any kind of co-witness. You are very close to that working, but you just don't get a co-witness, all right? Okay, guys, that's pretty much it. Again, not a super tutorial on, like, how to do this, but more or less a quick first look and first impressions of it without even firing the gun. And I've got to say, right now, I do like it. I think it's a major upgrade from the OEM sights that are on there. Even if you're just going to stick with just shooting irons, you've extended your sight radius by like 8 inches or whatever that is, like a significant amount. And if that's important to you, well, that makes sense. I mean, you really did extend that sight radius, and I do like that. But then it also opens up the whole world of mounting like scout sights, you know, scout scopes, I think is what they're called. I don't have any of those, so I can't really use those. But you could mount other scopes and things on here if you really wanted to. If you want to use it for a hunting gun or whatever, anything that would allow you to see better optic-wise, or even red dots. And you could use red dots, and I tried out a couple different that I have. Nothing right now that I have allows you to co-witness through these sights, right? So if you're going to use it, I would recommend using some kind of a quick detach mount so that if you're in the field, something happens crazy, whatever, your batteries go out, you can take off the optic so that you still have iron sights to back up onto. But anyway, that's my first impressions of it. I like it. I can't wait to actually shoot it and see how well it works and everything. Pretty simple to install. It's really not hard. Again, watch those videos on XS's site. That's the best thing I can tell you. If you really want me to do one, I can do one, but it's just going to be a copycat of what they do, and go watch their video because they're the manufacturers. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions about it, please let me know. Thank you to XS for sending this thing out to look at. I really do appreciate that, and I hope to get some pretty good use out of them. All right, y'all be good to be safe. Appreciate you watching everything, and hopefully we'll catch you out in the next video.